nation's capital. There's a low tonight of 76. There's a 0% chance of rain this time in the forecast for the night. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by the Utilities Regulations and Competition Authority, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, BTC Every Day, Super Value, the All the Haven Supermarkets, the McKinney Media Group for effective PR concepts and advertisement, Island Made Products, made especially for you, Ministry of Tourism, the Department of Labor, bachelor's degree notice. Do you have a bachelor's degree? You want to register today, whether you're working or not working. Advantage Insurance and Brokers Limited, 61 Collins Avenue, Super Wash with 11 locations open 24/7. Ron's Electric Motors, Sky Bahamas, Seafile, Colina Financial Advisors Limited, Executive Printers. Also, Henry F. Store, the Light People on Mackey Street, the Blue Ultra Pure Drinking Water, the official water of Hard Coffee. I say that they're keeping things together, staying alive, not only as a union, but keeping workers in the mix to make sure that those who have an idea that they're going to bust up unions and get away with it, that they are put on notice that the union is standing strong, the hotel union. Nicole Martin and Darren Cash, Darren Woods, my special guest at this afternoon, not Darren Cash, he's someplace else. You can call Hard Copy at 325-0235 or 6, the BlackBerry 376-9234, and on cable top box 970, so you can listen to us around the country today. You can also go to any Android and listen, iPad, iPhones, you can get us on TuneIn Radio and on Facebook, Hard Copy, on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas. You can also send me a text by texting 376-9234, and our telephone number today, 325-0242-43. 325-0252 or 53. Now, we're in this first hour. We're going to talk about some union business because I have them for an hour today, so let's make it count. Good afternoon, Nicole Martin, Madam President, and Mr. Secretary General.
Good afternoon,
the gentle
Steve.
giant, Darren Woods. How are you, sir?
Well, good afternoon, Steve, and good afternoon, Bahamas. I'm great.
Wonderful. You got on green.
Oh, yeah.
Nicole has a pretty hairstyle. If you see her hairstyle.
Green shoes.
Green shoes with a bright, what is that? Orange?
Tangerine.
Tangerine skies, marmalade skies, tangerine skies. Anyway, a pleasant good afternoon. The thing is, on a very serious note, the union seems to be not only the hotel union, but unions in particular seem to be under attack. I see all these unions are making noise about so many things: BEC union, workers union, the water and sewage union, air traffic, everybody, and the hotel union has been battling. I think that's the best way you can describe it, trying to stay alive in this big game of a big chessboard where some people are doing some things to the detriment of your members, and your members at least understanding. What's the situation? What's the scenario? Where are we? And you got elections coming up shortly as well.
Next Wednesday.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So what are we looking at now? What is happening with the hotel union from a perspective that you are all on top of it? I'm hoping that you are, because there are many persons and many reports have come to me, Nicole Martin, as Madam President. You should know, people have called me and told me about all kinds of things happening in the workplace. They've told me about mistreatment, people saying anything to staff, verbal abuse, all kinds of stuff. And certainly about people who are in jobs and positions, especially that big project out west, where they are in fact putting others in positions of jobs that Bahamians ought to have, like human resources. We've got tons of human resources personalities here, but nonetheless, we've got others coming in to take those jobs. Where are you?
Well, Steve, again, the hotel union being the largest union in the country, responsible for the #1 industry, it is not a union to be taken lightly. However, over the years, it seems as if we've done some things that is now aiding in the attacks on our union.
What do you mean? You've done some things deliberately, not deliberately?
What I mean is, I think we're in a period of unions being forced to be more efficient and more effective in the way we do business.
Understood.
Because we are good at representation. We're very good at representation, but when it comes to record keeping, files, communication,
the basic stuff,
the management of unions, because our union don't only represent the workers. We have a business, and that side of the union has been under attack. Our very existence has been under attack, Last year, as you're aware, the government passed a validation act to validate us and other unions.
Mhm.
Then we had some now former members who went to court seeking to have the union declared to not exist.
Null and void.
Null and void. They lost at the Supreme Court level, and they appealed it. We were at the Court of Appeal last week.
Are you serious?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
We were at the Court of Appeal.
So there's a storm within. There's a warring faction within who perhaps don't realize the big picture that unions in general are under attack from the outside. And you certainly can't withstand all this if you're going to be attacked from the inside as well.
Well, yes. So again, having all these battles, we are actually struggling to keep the union. And you know what? I'm happy to report that we have kept the union, and we will continue to keep the union.
That's why your theme is standing strong.
Standing strong.
I understand.
We've had so many
Battles
blows.
within, battles without. Court battles.
Well, battles within members of our union who wanted to lead.
I see.
The people rejected them. So because they were rejected by the people, they decided that, you know what, we can go to court. So they vied for office, they lost. And then they launched an attack on the organization. And if that is not bad enough, while they were launching the attack on the union, they were campaigning in anticipation of being nominated to run in the union's elections.
But I believe that you're smart enough that nominations. Did
Nominations
they get to nominate?
Nomination is open to all members in good standing.
But so these
they were
members,
expelled from the
I
union.
see. So they were not able to nominate.
Well, they weren't able to come into the hall.
Because
Only members.
Only members. I
Only
see.
members could get.
It's a members only.
It's
thing.
a members
It's
only
a private
thing.
Body.
It's a private body. So
My goodness.
we were able to, and we await the court's ruling. But sitting in there and hearing the pronouncements in court, I wish it was televised. I wish that hearing was televised.
Why is that?
Because we have over 6,000 members, but you have 4 persons who were members at the time who took out an action that would ultimately affect over 20,000 workers. So for just a few of us to be in there hearing this, in my view, is an injustice.
People would almost say this is unbelievable. Had they been there,
You
would have had to been there to see it.
We had some members in court because some of them couldn't believe that what we were saying was the truth. And to hear the justices of appeal and the president speak to the application that was before them, Justice Isaacs, I think, would have said it in the best way I heard. He said to counsel for that group that, you cannot bill in the air. You need a foundation. Your case has no foundation. Okay? So, Steve, when we talk about standing strong, our union would have collapsed if we had fallen into the historical pattern. By this time in my tenure, we should have already had internal fighting and a division.
Doesn't exist within your grouping.
We're still together, still standing strong. We fight. As families fight. But what we've been able to achieve is something that was not achieved in a very long time. That is coming together and staying together for the good of the union. So we're fighting all of these things. And then, of course, we have Melia.
Yeah.
We just finished court today.
It's over?
The ruling is set. The judge, he said he needs to move quickly. And so he has set July 16th as the date for the ruling.
Now, let me back up here, because this Melia, I call it Melia, you call it Malaya, whatever it is. Same hotel, same people that we're talking about. This is on the gratuity.
It is.
I don't understand this matter. I saw where the union came under attack by a good friend of mine, Leslie Miller, recently, because of something that was said by you, that this whole thing is a dream. This whole bit about what is happening, that was with Bahama, I'm sure. But the point what I'm making is that the pivotal question here is, what really are we talking about when we talk about the gratuities that have not been paid? Are we talking in the hundreds of thousands of dollars? Are we talking just $50 People want to know, just so that they can understand how egregious this may have been to the workers who need their money. We know that no hotel worker in this country can afford to be without the monies that they make in a single day.
Yes.
Because things are hand to mouth, and has been for a long time because of the industry. Things have been
Yes.
hand to mouth. So what are we talking about, and why did this happen, and how could this have happened? Because there's some, Madam President, who may say, Nicole then was sleeping at the wheel. And that's
Yeah.
why this happened.
Yeah. Well, you would always find the ones to say that it's the union's fault. The union negotiated an industrial agreement. That industrial agreement have provisions in it for gratuities to be collected. The hotel out west under two ownership, two different owners carried or had flags flown. Sheraton at one point, Radisson at the other, and now Melia or Malia. The whole question has to do with all-inclusive guests. It is their contention that there has never been an all-inclusive program. There was no all-inclusive program
At the time
operating
of
at the
of the
time.
industrial,
At the time that Melia took over.
I understand. Oh, at the time that they took over.
Yes. Well, an all-inclusive program has been on that property. In that property, I've been with the union for 14 years, almost 15 in 3 months, if when next Wednesday goes well. It has been in place since I was here. We have people who were working for 30-some years out west, and that is all they know, that they've always had it. What the company did was the union was not agreeing to what they proposed. So in order to force the union's hand, they withheld the gratuities.
I see.
And they went on Christmas Eve and got an injunction.
On Christmas Eve?
On Christmas
last year.
Eve at 2 p.m.
My God.
They got an injunction to restrain the union from engaging in any industrial action. And then they withheld the monies.
While you were out trying to shop for your Christmas presents, they were busy about enforcing and making sure that you had no recourse.
And to ensure that our people's Christmas would
ruined.
not be as delightful as they would want it. So all of this has to do with the union saying to the company, we have no problem negotiating, but we are not in a position to negotiate something that is going to be less than what our people currently enjoy. So because we were not agreeing with them, as you know, they said that we were unreasonable, and they wrote the employees and told the employees they're going to withhold the gratuities until the union agrees. And they were aided by the injunction in the court. And today, the court matter, finally, all the witnesses ended today. Submissions by the lawyers are expected to be on the 1st of June. And the judge said that he'll give his ruling on the 16th of July at 10 a.m. Again, we have persons who are under tremendous strain. It is not $50. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you're talking about 428 thereabout employees whose income is supplemented by gratuities.
Understood.
And over 50% of them, that is all they take home. Everything they take home is gratuity.
So the Bahamian public never really got a good understanding of how serious this matter was.
Yes.
That people were actually not getting paid, basically.
Yes. And still not being paid. One of the things I'm very cautious about, Steve, is when something is in front of the courts.
Yeah.
I want to speak as little as possible,
Understood.
if at all. And so if I am to be criticized for anything, it would be because I am being so careful that what I say on the outside of court does not negatively impact our case on the inside.
Yeah, well, we can respect and we can understand that.
So for me, there's a lot that we need to talk about in relation to gratuity and what it means to this economy. A lot of people talk about who is greedy and who is not, but a lot of the businesses that we have came out of gratuity. A lot of the profit margins that food stores enjoy come from gratuities. A lot of the college
So it has a
education.
domino effect if it's not kept up the way it was.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And so we're fighting for it, and we're fighting for the rights that we have. Because the company, it seemed like, they show up and, you know what, union, just take it or leave it.
There seems to be Darren Cash as Secretary General.
Woods. You better
Darren
call him.
Cash, get out of my head. Darren Woods, sorry about that. There seemed to be a attitude prevalent in the Bahamas. It's always been there from the time that you were juniors under Pat Bean and those. But now that you're running the union, you see an increase of a bad attitude when it comes to this whole acceptance that unions are in the Bahamas. It's a part of our culture. When investors come here, they ought to know that this is what we do. We have unions. We are labor friendly. We are union friendly, and we operate with an industrial agreement and the act, the Labor Act. But the trouble is, it seems like there's been a great push. And I'm asking you, has there been a great push, in your opinion, in recent times with persons and institutions and investors and new companies who just can't deal with unions? What has been happening?
Steve, there has been a push because we've gotten information, and I would say good information, that certain employers who shall remain nameless in the Western District, in their roll calls or their orientation, actually say to the employees that, hey, you cannot join a union. And we know that as a fundamental right that is given to us
Absolutely.
under the most supreme authority in this country, which is our Constitution, the right to associate. And then you find persons coming in here, they will come in under this guise, well, we've worked with unions, we love unions, and, we're prepared to work with you. But at the same time, they're saying that to you and they slamming the door in your face or jamming the wood behind the door so you can't get it open. And so the thing is, we find that everywhere we go, when investors come in, if there's an industrial agreement in place, they find ways. And you know what is amazing? We actually were able to get hold of a document where a particular employer actually wrote their attorney trying to find ways to get around
The union.
the union.
Yes.
Okay? To get around the union.
But this would be something that they would know based upon their investment, their prospectus for their investment, their advice from those on the inside for their investment, the industrial agreement, the Industrial Relations Act, the Fair Labor Standard Act, the whole idea that when they come, there's also a heads of agreement in most cases. But they would know, wouldn't they know this? I mean, and if they know this, then how is it that if they don't know it, whose fault is that? Obviously, those who sit down in the government to negotiate these heads of agreement must be in a position to tell them, now look, this place where you're coming is a union-friendly nation. We believe in the Industrial Relations Act. We believe in the Fair Labor Standard Act, etc. I see you both smiling. Why are you laughing?
Steve.
Isn't that what's supposed to happen?
Mr. QL Roll, former first vice president, we were having a talk, and he said to me, he said, Nicole, back in the 1970s, Club Med came to the Bahamas, and Sir Linden ensured that before they opened their doors to operate, there was an industrial agreement between the union and Club Med on behalf of the workers. So there was an appreciation of the role that the union should play in the hospitality industry in 1970 something. Okay. Over the years, the employers, in my mind, they will never want us, these investors that come here. But the push to respect unions from the people that engage investors has changed tremendously. And so we find ourselves, after there's a problem, we have to go to the same people who engaged the investors and did not inform them sufficiently that there is a union in this industry that you will need to speak to. So it's almost like we appealing to Caesar about Caesar, and it's it's comical in a lot of instances.
Yeah.
But
Well-
you know, Steve, on that same point, what is amazing, and we say what we like about Cuba. In Cuba, when investors go into Cuba to invest, if there's a union in that industry, the government says to them, you have to go and talk to, let's say, the hotel union.
Mhm.
We have Melia,
Mhm.
Malia,
Mhm.
that's in Cuba. We have Sandals, that's in Cuba. We have Breezes, that's in Cuba. But in order for them to go in and invest in Cuba, they have to go by way of the union.
Mhm.
Because the union is the one who is looking out for that industry.
Mhm.
Okay? If the hotel industry is our number one industry here, who's looking out for the number one industry? Anytime the union is asking for something or suggesting something, we always look at as the bad guys. And you kind of referenced something earlier
Mhm.
about an attack on our president.
Mhm.
It was said that she shouldn't speak ill of Bahama.
Mm.
Pretty much, where was she all the time? But my question is, when Melia first came in, remember the stink that was raised
Yes.
from the same gal here? When she said, listen, you are terminating workers. What was said to her was, these are not your bargaining unit people.
Mhm.
She
Yeah, I
says,
remember
no,
it.
they're not my bargaining unit people, but they are Bahamian, because you are displacing Bahamian workers for foreign workers.
Mhm.
Now we have no problem with them in its place. Okay? And then you go on to say, well, you know, I walk down there and everything is honky dory. I see smiling faces.
Mm.
But if you are doing a tour, you can't go on that tour by yourself.
Mhm.
You are being taken on the tour with the principals of that
Who's
company.
showing you the best side?
Yes.
So what are you supposed to see?
They're giving you the scenic route.
You understand? And we know what is being said out there. We know what is happening out there.
Mhm.
You understand? So I say to the persons out there who would make an attempt to malign or attack
Mhm.
our leader, our quarterback. You know, in football, what they do? They protect their quarterback.
Mhm.
We are going to protect our quarterback at any cost. That's our star player. Ain't nothing can happen to our quarterback. So I say to those who are there, see, because you may be talking from the periphery.
Mhm.
Everything looks good from the outside.
Or from pure politics.
Hello.
All from exactly.
But if you want to look from the inside, see, when you're talking from the inside,
Mhm.
you're talking from a point of feelings.
Yeah, people who are
You
on the inside
feel
who
it.
know. They
You know exactly
Yeah,
what's
they know.
happening.
He who feels it knows it.
So when something is said, there's sometimes we say some things just in the heat of the moment.
Mhm.
But I challenge you to line up what we say or what we have said in particular with what's happening, and tell me if you don't see the pieces falling into place.
But let me say this. What made you say or express the opinion that this is, I think you said, a dream, or
They sell it. They've
this
sold us
this
a
sold us
dream.
a dream? What made you say that?
Well, what made me say it is the fact that it was said that this is going to be the savior
Mhm.
for the Bahamas.
It was said, yes.
It
indeed.
was said. It was said that they will open their doors. The new Bahamian Riviera
Mhm.
will open December 2014.
Yes, that's true.
It was said that we will employ thousands of Bahamians.
Mhm.
Okay. We see the construction. Well, we know that the construction was lined with a whole country. I don't know how many Chinese were left in China because almost all of them were here. There's a whole city for them. So Bahamian workers got some of the action, but not the majority. They painted the picture because the hotel union traveled with Bahama executives to Las Vegas for them to tell us, what all they're going to, all these beautiful things and these beautiful franchises they're seeking to bring in.
Mhm.
Everything seemed beautiful, but Their first order of business was to remove Bahamians from the line, from wherever they could move them, because the only one operational Bahama property right now is Malia. You are hard pressed to find a Bahamian executive
In Malia.
in Malia. Human resources, foreign, after they fired the Bahamian. Okay? Food and beverage, foreign.
The governor's aware of this.
The government had to give the permits for the people to work. Okay?
So that meant that Bahamians weren't qualified then.
Well, it meant that they had X amount of work permits. This is the explanation that I was given because I inquired. After being told initially that, Madam President, the government will ensure that there are no foreigners taking the jobs of Bahamians that were terminated. Okay. Few months later, all foreigners for the positions where Bahamians left. All right. So Bahama didn't open. They move away Bahamians. As a matter of fact, if you check the record, Mr. McKinney, you will find where we fought even for taxi drivers because they said that the taxi drivers could not come into the hotel to use the restroom. So we fought for the taxi drivers. We also fought for every Bahamian who is dark like me because we were being challenged. Once you go to Malia, we were being challenged. My people were being asked to approach a group of Black nurses. Ask them why were they there. And if you went on the bar, they were sending our members to go to the patrons to ask them questions. So the record would bear out that this is a fight that we fought. Okay? Bahama said that they will open. They have not opened. They have not. They said the Chinese...
5 months late, 3 times they said they'd open.
The Chinese are skilled workers, and that's why they were here. Now we're hearing that the Chinese jack up the work. So maybe if you had employed some unskilled Bahamians, at least you wouldn't have to pay a ticket for them to come to work. Bahama, in my estimation, has not, and on top of everything, we had the Wyndham employees. All that is Bahama. The heads of agreement that was executed on behalf of us, the Bahamian people, and was completely ignored by Bahama. Bahama seemed to be a law unto itself. They have no respect. They've exhibited no respect for Bahamians. Absolutely none. I believe, and I say this without fear of contradiction, that if they could have the beauty of our country, minus us, the Bahamian people, that would be an ultimate win for them. Because everything that they've done indicate that they would rather us not be around. And if we have to be around, it will be in the most minimal fashion possible.
So they're selling a dream. It doesn't seem as if Christie and his team believes that. And they also are right now at an impasse, basically. The prime minister's negotiating, or as the mediator, whatever he is, between the two sides who can't seem to get their act together. Bahamians have been sent home, and more will be laid off because they're not quite prepared yet. And it seems as if we don't have an opening date in mind. What does that mean to the Bahamas Hotel Catering Allied Workers Union?
It means less to our union than it means to the country. Because whether I like them or not, whether I believe that they are good for us or not, the fact of the matter is it will represent a place for employment. So every day that place is not open, and we have people who left their jobs to go there.
I'm aware.
I sat right here on your show, Mr. McKinney, and you asked about Bahama, and I said I do not see flowers in the future. Okay, but people left because it seemed to be a beautiful thing. I'm used to seeing F&M flags, PLP flags, Bahamian flags. One time during the year, the Haitian flags are flown. Okay, well, we have now added to the bulk of flags, the Bahama flags. So they've branded themselves. They've put themselves out to be so ingrained in our society. And they mean well. And I believe that eventually it is going to be well. But before it gets well, I believe we have a lot more rocky days ahead of us. When anyone comes to a country, and in my opinion, have no regard. See, I'm a Bahamian, and it's like in my house, let me talk bad to my children. You don't. When we have an investor who speak the way they've spoken of our government and said that there will not be any more major investors coming to this country because the Bahamas is not good for business. Where was Mr. Miller's voice when that was said? That is an attack on us as a country. And that voice was heard not only locally. That was someone attempting to send out a smoke signal. Do not come to the Bahamas with your money. But we okay attacking each other. We wouldn't attack someone who is attacking us. I want Bahama doors to open. I want Bahamians to get jobs. But I want us to be able to get jobs equivalent or commensurate with our qualifications. Because we have qualified Bahamians who are being subjected to their names being sent to immigration as understudies. That's it.
Are you serious? Well, I know that for a fact that a number of things are happening in this country, and I tried to tell people that early in the week. And one of those very, very important things that's happening in the country that is an insult to the Bahamian people has been this fact that investors coming here are trying to lift the bar to a particular level where they're hoping that there are no Bahamians who qualify. Thus, this past week, for the last week and a half, the Department of Labor has been issuing out a radio bulletin of sorts, advertising for Bahamians who have bachelor's degree, any of the sciences, bachelor's degree, whether you're working or not, to register. Because what is happening when they go there to make applications for these permits, immigration and all that, they're saying, well, we need a fellow who can help us with the aquarium, but we want somebody with a bachelor's degree, and there's none. There are none in the Bahamas, and there are many. And the Ministry of Labor has been finding themselves in a fix because when they go to their registry, they don't see hardly anyone because Bahamians who do hold them have not registered themselves.
Right.
Because they say, well, I have a bachelor's in this, but I have a bachelor's in what you call it, bio, whatever. But I am working in the bank, so it doesn't really matter. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So now what is happening is that major investors are coming here. And those people with biochem, whatever they have degree in, a bachelor's degree in, they have not registered. So when they look down the list, looking to see, well, you can't get us from it because we got 16 people with this degree.
Yeah.
The Department of Labor is troubled that they can point to these people. So they're running an ad, which you'll hear in a short time. If you have a bachelor's degree in anything, whether you're working or not working, go register.
And I support that.
Because that is what is happening. And Bahamians are being left out because they don't get that. They think that because, well, I got a bachelor's in this, but I'm into broadcasting now. So, but if you realize that if they're looking for somebody like you, you can get the real monies that you want in your real career where you have earned your real education.
Yes.
And because Bahamians have not been registering, these guys get away.
Yeah.
So they bring in all these foreign guys to do the jobs that Bahamians are qualified to do. And then the Department of Labor is in a quandary because really, while we have 1,000 of them, there's no registry.
Yeah. Right. Well, I certainly would ask everyone under the sound of my voice to go ahead and take advantage of that registration process, because whether or not you get the job, at least there would be a record of what we have in this country.
Absolutely.
And I believe that we have a lot of qualified Bahamians, but for whatever reason, we're not being highlighted. There's no, I guess, registry.
Mhm.
And I hope to see things like that continue.
Yeah, that's a proactive move.
Yes,
I think.
because it is very proactive, and
Mhm.
I would like to commend the Department of Labor, the
Yes.
government, for taking such a stand.
Mhm.
And those are the stands that I am asking for. That if you have it in the country, then let's solicit and let's ensure that once someone comes, Steve, we were just talking about this, that an employer might say, well, we need someone with a bachelor's degree in media, mass communication,
Mhm.
right? Additionally, we need that person to speak Portuguese fluently.
Mhm.
Okay, there's no Bahamian with that degree and speaking Portuguese. So we have to bring a foreigner in.
Mhm.
Well, who is there to determine that the foreigner getting the job is speaking Portuguese?
Yeah. There's no checks and balances.
There's no checks and balance.
Yeah.
And just because we see this big thing, Portuguese, no, Lord, we don't have nobody speaking Portuguese.
Yeah. We just give them
We
the
say,
permit.
you know what, let's give them the permit. But who
we
do
need to
we
challenge
have?
that.
We need to challenge it. Who do we have on staff at labor, or if they're not on staff, if it's a contractual
Yeah.
arrangement, come in and help us vet this applicant
Hmm.
in their fluency in Portuguese. So there's a lot of things I believe need to happen in support of Bahamians, whether you are a unionized worker or not. If you are Bahamian, you are entitled to all of the milk and honey that flows from this country.
Well, listen, we're talking this evening with Nicole Martin, the president of the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union, and also Darren Woods, who is the Secretary General. They've been at this thing for a bit. They've come up through the rough side of the mountain, and they have a good background in the whole idea of running unions and looking out for the best interest of workers in the country. They've had their share of challenges. You heard them say they were at the court early today, and the ruling is going to happen around July 16 on these gratuities. There are many people who are depending and hoping that something positive happens because they want their money. And more than likely, and this is me saying this, more than likely things will work out and pan out in their best interest. And we pray God that it does. But in the meantime, there's still a struggle of sorts, because there are some who should be together with Nicole Martin and they call themselves the A-team on this matter, but they may be missing the big picture as to how serious in jeopardy workers are in this country, and how workers are slipping in this country, be it even though they're in unions. It's slipping because there seems to be diminishing support, even by those who want to be in charge of something. They would even come against it and attack the same thing that has given everybody life. So I'm saying that to say this: you all still have a long way to go. You've got till the 27th of this month, May, to go back to the polls. Nominations have already been done. I want to ask you, how do you feel the whole matter will pan out as far as the challenges that you may be against? I don't know if you've got opponents or what, but I take it that there are people who want to challenge the leadership. But how will this whole thing pan out, and why is it important for it, in your view, to pan out in a way where you hold things steady at this juncture? Because, I mean, people may say, well, new people will be challenged. You'll start all over again. The old regime that's been in, Nicole, they've been in at this for a bit. They have some things in the pot cooking right now, and hopefully they can come to fruition. How would you say, how important is this whole matter of the elections coming up in the next few days to your executive team and to the welfare of the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union?
Steve, I would say it is absolutely important that we retain leadership of the union, simply because there are, as you said, there are things that we've started that we were unable to complete. One of the things that we are criticized heavily about is the fact that we were unable to negotiate a new industrial agreement for the major hotels.
Mm-hmm.
That is because in 2013 we wrote to say that we wanted to start the process of negotiations. The BHEA said no.
This is the Hotel Managers Union.
This is the Hotel
the
Employees
Employees
Association.
Right.
Their thing to us was, no, you missed a 90-day deadline that is outlined in the contract. Well, that provision has been in the contract since the first one in 1969, I think. No president has ever, no administration has ever been asked to confine to that 90-day window.
There's always a give and take.
Yes,
Yeah.
but for the first time in our history,
They held you to it.
Well, they held me, but we have an unregistered document that they're trying to hold on to. And what's interesting is in one court, they're trying to hold on to it, and in another court, they're trying to get rid of it. And we say the only way to fix it is to come to the table. Our members deserve the best people at the table to negotiate for them. The Employers Association, in my estimation, in the contract that we have, they've gotten away with murder for years because the contract contains within it things that are less than the law.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. And because it is less than the law, it has to be negotiated. It has to be changed to comply with the law or be better than. We have a provision, Section 45 of our agreement, that holds us back from being able to exercise the one thing unions should be free to do, and that is to withhold labor, of course, through the proper channels. So we have that provision. It's been in our contract since, I think, 1990. And that is one of the reasons why these employers do whatever they feel like, because they know you got to go through this thing called a review committee. The review committee will give a recommendation. If you like the recommendation, you take it. If you don't, then you appeal. You go to private binding arbitration. And from that point on, you go to the court.
Long and tedious.
Long and tedious.
Yeah,
and so for us, I'm asking our members to think about the fact that everywhere we had to negotiate, where we had the opportunity, we were able to negotiate a good, sustainable contract. But BHEA, they do not want to come to the table because they do want to determine who is the president of the union. In my opinion, they've always wanted to determine.
Yeah, there's always been influence. They tried to influence that.
Yeah.
I
think it makes sense, right?
All
for
warring
them.
parties try to make sure that they get the people who they want, who they can perhaps manipulate better than the ones who they may have now.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I feel good as the president, along with my administration, that at this point in our tenure, that there is no scandal. Because that's always what rocked the hotel union. The greatest disappointment to us and our members is that in the master contract, the major hotels, we were unable at this point to sit at the table. But that matter is coming up on June 25th this year. And we ask our members, once the dust settles, who do you want to negotiate on your behalf? And I would tell you, Steve, I'm not bragging, but you would be very hard-pressed to find a better negotiating team than mine, and of course the professionals that we have lined up and ready to negotiate. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of missed opportunities in the eyes of our members. But in 1992, I studied typing, and I learned the lesson of my life, which is accuracy and then speed. So you get it right. Not fast.
No question about it. Well, let me ask you. You've been Darren Woods. You've been in the union, in the administration now, for what, 2 terms?
Well, it's hard to count the term based on the times we have to go to court.
And elections.
Yeah. So
what, you won 3 in a row?
This will be our 5th election.
For 2 terms.
But for 2 terms.
Is that right?
Yeah.
5th election for 3 terms.
Based on the court's ruling and all that has happened.
So it's been troubling, but
yeah,
you're still standing. You're still interested in leading people in an industry that's really, really a fickle industry now, and that's trouble turmoil is in the industry.
Yeah, and I think, a good friend of ours sent us a little song that kind of says it all. Something inside so strong. It's for the love of this thing, for people and to really see our organization, because when you come up through something, you kind of appreciate it more than if you come from the outside.
It's home.
Yeah. So you try to embellish, you try to protect. And the reason why we've been able to really still stand strong is because we have one of the best team that has ever been assembled, bar none. When the team was put together, we purposely looked for people with particular skills from varying backgrounds, from varying areas, so that when stuff that comes up, like what we have to deal with, the general secretary, the president can focus on that part of it, while the business or the representational part of the union is still going on. We have persons out there who are able to do that. They're able to take it as far as they can take it, and then if they need the general secretary to step in and help, that is done. Or if they need the president to step in and help. Because, a lot of times people might say, well, I don't see the president. I don't see, the job of the president is so different. Because when we were organizers, then that was our job. You would see us every day. We would be handling disputes. We would be dealing with reprimands. That was what we were supposed to do. When we were elevated to the administration, our focus now becomes more global.
Yes.
Because we are now to look
picture.
at the entire operation, the entire membership. But at the same token, nothing has been forsaken.
I appreciate that. Darren Woods with us today, and of course, Nicole Martin, the president, of course, is Nicole Martin. Darren Woods is the general secretary. I want to take a couple of calls before we lose the day, because they're only here for an hour, and we've just about lapsed an hour. So I'm going to give you a couple of extra minutes in here in a minute, and take a call or two. 325-023516, 325-024243, 325-025253. How important is it for members of the hotel union to stick together in good times and bad times, and right now in troubling times, where there are the employers, there are the big operators out there who want to do things their way, and there is the hotel union who's looking out for the welfare and the well-being and the stability and the remuneration of its members? Let's take some calls. Hard copy, good afternoon. How are you?
Good evening, Steve.
Peace and love.
Good evening, Ms. Martin and Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Good evening.
Steve, I don't think the problem. This is a three-part problem: government, the workers, and the union. Because if the workers are owed hundreds of thousands of dollars, I don't think the union should have let it get that far. Back in the 80s, the problem they're going through right now is the same problem I, as a worker, went through. I worked at Lowe's Harbor Cove, and the owner, Joe Munyon, thank God for Sir Linden, because he really wanted to do us in. He used to be in the Linden office every day trying to get us to move from gratuities into a set date. And Sir Linden would not let that happen. Whereas Mr. Christie and Mr. Ingram, to me, they dropped the ball. Sir Linden would not let that happen. Every day he tried to. What happened is we made good money, and what he wanted to do was give us a set salary. So all our gratuities that we were making, he was going to pay the whole entire staff with just the gratuities that came from dining room and bar alone.
Wow, it's plenty of money, eh?
The Linden would not let that happen. He got his way after the PLP got out of power in '92. But I'm just saying, we as the workers, whenever they were trying to do some things by with holding back on our gratuities, we didn't work. And we always summoned the union. We made those guys, people and all, we made them work. They didn't drop the ball on us. So I think it Miss Martin, with all due respect, I think you all, hundreds of thousands of dollars should have never really gotten to that point. But I also look for the leader of the country to let the foreigners know, because every day Mr. Munyon was in Mr. Pillen office, I can assure you that. You can ask anyone that worked at Oda at that time. Every day he was in Mr. Finland's office. Mr. Finland would tell him, ain't nothing happening, my brother. These are my people. You can't do this to them. The 15% means a lot to them. Low. What he did was he collected all the revenues in New York and he dropped the price on us. But we still were able to make good money because the hotel was always full. And if a dinner was $20 and he dropped it to say he collect 14 or 15, we still were able to get the 15% from that and still were able to make some good money. You know?
I appreciate your insight. Thank you very much for your call. It seems though, Ms. Martin, what is happening here is that what he is talking about is absolutely true. We know that. But the thing is, it's two different times now. You talked about a new act that came into being with the hotel union, with the idea of what people can do with withholding their labor around 1990. This was what happened to mitigate for the hotel employers to make sure they was going to be okay. And I suppose government compromised on it because they say, well, you know, we're trying to get jobs in here, so we got to keep people in employ. But this is a different time. And so in this time, that didn't exist. So you could have withhold your labor and you could have forced their hand. And that's what is called people's power, something that we lack today.
But, you know, Steve, I hear the gentleman, but the union, I'm going to defend us tooth and nail, because when they withheld the monies in December, they had an injunction by the court to restrain us. And then we went ahead and we had a legal strike vote poll taken. That poll was taken in January. The court continued the injunction. The injunction is still going on until there's a ruling.
On the 16th of July.
On the 16th of July. So it's not that the union does not. Now, I, Nicole Michelle Martin, do not want the blood of anyone on my hand. So I am not going to, just because my head is hot and just because we need to do something, violate something that will cost all of us. And then they would say, Nicole should have been more responsible. So the union is doing what we could have. It didn't start at hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's been since December 2014. It's now May 2015. You know, they gave them some payment and said it was an advance that they were paying the workers. You hold my money, then give me money, say I'm giving you an advance. And if the court rules certain way, then we'll deduct it from.
My Lord. Anyway, let's take some calls. Hard copy, how are you? Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
Steve.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Miss Martin and you. This is Charlie.
Good afternoon.
Steve, Miss Martin really is doing the best she could do under these conditions. Because I was there from the break. And we have enough people who really don't have no love for the union. Is actually fighting up, putting out your court. You think at this time, in the union election, you think we should be burdened with courts?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Miss Martin is really, I don't even know if she's doing. Honestly, I'm man and I can't do that. I don't know if she's doing. But she is in court. She is dealing with the members the best way she could do. I mean, everybody wants Miss Peace and Miss Martin. Miss Martin, it's possible that it could be 5 of you one time. I think if it's 5 of you one time, people probably try to get to understand, but it ain't that way. Steve, take it from me. Miss Martin and that team up there, they are sacrificing time, their personal money, and I tell you, when it comes to our election, I could tell you, we hustle. That our personal funds are there from day one. So all I could say, Miss Martin, keep strong. Keep the olive oil over your head.
Yes.
And Darren, same thing as you. And victory is ours.
Appreciate your call. Okay.
Thank you.
Hard copy, how you doing?
Good afternoon, Steve.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful.
Wonderful.
I am surprised of all the misconception being spreaded right now on your show.
Well, then
I Miss Martin and the 18.
Okay.
She's the best person to negotiate a contract for us. I wonder if she want to share with you the copy of KFC contract. That's the worst contract in the history of this Bahamas. Okay? As well, as I'd like to touch on, just the fact that, you know, everybody's saying that this union is so broken and so this and so that. Well, why not let it go? Why are you holding on? Okay, let somebody get in there who really want to do something for the people. All right? Because you see, we sit here and we talk and we talk and we talk. But if we look at your works and what you do, talk with your record. Don't talk with nobody else. You have lawyers to go to court. We don't need you in no court. Okay? So you do the work of the union and let the lawyers handle the work of the union through court, and you do our work.
All right. So are you one of the individuals who will be challenging her to take her out so that you can get things done?
Well, if she didn't nominate me, that would have been good.
Oh, but who's this? Who's this?
Don Fernando.
Oh, there's Don. Don, you didn't get nominated. You're not a member.
He's one who's trying to have the union deregistered.
Are you the young man who was trying to deregister the union?
Of course not. I'm the young man who take the stand, ready to be in a place for 6 years, and decided not to do anything about what they knew about long time for something that I just found out about 2 years ago.
Man, I look at a document, you know. I see you, Dave Backfoot,
That is fine.
Anderson
I'm glad
Sands,
you at that document.
Don Fernanda, Christopher Evans.
Register, right?
It's a court ruling.
Yeah.
Deregister.
The court ruling.
They're trying to say deregister, right? She could tell you what the judge is saying and all that. But words are very important when it comes to law. She knows that. She studies law.
I know that.
She's
Everybody
doing it
knows that. Yeah.
Okay? We said very well for her to go to court. And that's fine.
Well, you know,
So we're just trying to educate herself.
Okay, so
The
fine.
thing is, you got to do the work of the people as well.
I hear what you're saying. Now, what's the beef now that she's not doing the work and you want to challenge her and you're going to take her on, or your team is going to take her on?
Well, ask her to nominate us.
They've been
Nominations already
expelled from the union.
Simply nominate us.
They've been expelled via our constitution.
Tell her nominate us. Tell her
Okay.
be honest and just nominate us.
And you show her, right?
But as a matter of fact, he didn't even show.
He didn't
This
come
one
to
didn't show.
nomination.
That one
I
did.
Not
said
him.
to
Didn't show.
nominate. If you're not going to
We have
nominate,
the
Yeah.
we have the
like him, we decided to
registration.
take a
See,
stand. Really, you gotta nominate
Steve,
us. Because
Steve,
we can't
one of
run
the
off with them.
things,
Why you don't try run off with them?
All right. I appreciate your call.
Yes.
Thank you.
Steve, the registration process was opened. Everyone who wanted to, they showed up. And you know one thing about records, we have persons from another team that showed up. Some of the persons signed the register. One for sure came inside and sat down. When we looked for them, they were all gone. They never even came inside. Not the expelled persons, because if you are expelled from the union, you cannot enter a union members only function. And when I listen to people like Mr. Fernando, who went to court, and one of the reliefs they were seeking was to have the hotel union to cease from carrying itself in the Bahamas as a registered trade union. You can only exist as a trade union in this country, if you are a registered trade union. So whether I'm doing the work or not, and just for the record, I am not studying law. I have never studied law, but I'm happy that I am making such an impact that they believe that I'm studying law.
Anyway, hard copy. How you doing? Speak with us. I'm listening. All right. We only had you for an hour today. I've got other fish to fry today, but with everything else, there's going to be people who challenge, and that's all healthy. Even if people are now making noise, like Brother Don is, feeling as if he didn't get a fair chance to nominate.
He didn't come.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the point is, your election's on the 27th.
On the 27th.
So who are some of the? Do you have many opposing teams this time?
There's only one team, and Steve, I didn't book an hour with you to talk about them.
Well, I appreciate that. I get your message.
So the A team on the 27th, we're asking members of the hotel union to come out and, of course, vote for 12 A's. And we ask that you would give us an opportunity to continue the work of restoration of our union. In restoration, we know that before it looks beautiful, it looks ugly. But you have to determine what is structurally sound and what is just cosmetics. And we're getting through the process of restoration, removing what just looked pretty, and we are recreating a very, very structurally sound union. So the next president will not have this battle to fight.
Darren Woods, your final statement before I let you go today.
I would say to our members all over the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, voice on behalf of the Executive Council, which I am the voice, would like to say thank you for allowing us to serve up to this point. And again, we look to serve going forward, because the A team is the team that will be able to take our union to the next level and ensure that our union continue to stand strong.
All right. So we hope to see you next week sometime. And certainly I'll be keeping an eye on it. I like to keep an eye on the hotel union.
Oh, yes.
Once upon a time, I was a part of the hotel union.
Yes, that's for sure. We miss
under
you.
Pat Bain and Thomas Bastian. And so I think the hotel union has to keep itself together.
Yeah.
And well, for what it's worth, thank you for fighting and standing strong. It's very important.
Thank you so much for saying
Thank
so.
you.
We're going to run to a break. When we come back, friends, we're going to get into something else. And that is what you want to listen to for real today. I've got a continuation of this migration matter, this immigration matter. You have to hear this. I'll tell you why. We seem to be the only country in the world, not the region, who is not really paying attention. Australia's paying attention. They're dealing with some very serious immigration problems right now. You know, but the Dominican Republic. And what about the UK? Boy, you know, Cameron is going to the Parliament next week, and he's going to have a lot of people removed. I'll tell you why. And I'm going to tell you how much he is going to put pressure on persons who are illegals working, and they're now calling this proceeds of crime. The UK, this ever great progressive place called the UK, they're doing some things that will make you go, what? In just a minute. This is Hard Copy.
At Henry F. Story Electric Company, we supply all your electric needs for any size project, from residential housing to luxury hotels. We can help you achieve just the right look, from doorbells to chandeliers, table lamps to ceiling fans, wire, conduit, panels, dimmers, switches, plugs, and even tools. And don't forget light bulbs. We have those hard-to-find, energy-saving fluorescent bulbs and more. Henry F. Story Electric, number 135 Matthew Street. Over 50 years of reliability, service, and low prices. We also ship to the Family Islands.
Island Made invites you to buy Bahamian.
Oh, I love my island. Oh, my island made. Oh, I love my island. My island made. Oh, I love my
Island Made brands, always the best brands, always the best prices, always the best products, and always Bahamian made. Island Made, give us a call, 362-1102 or 362-1113.
My island made. Oh, I love my island. My island made.
Do you feel trapped and unable to move because of debt? Are you trying to meet your monthly obligations but still falling behind? Then what you need is a fresh start. BOB's Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan will combine your existing debts into one easy monthly payment, restoring your financial freedom and getting you back on track with a built-in savings plan. Talk to us today about your BOB Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan. BOB, your bank of solutions.
The Department of Labor is encouraging all Bahamian job seekers who hold a bachelor's degree to register immediately with the department. Bahamians with bachelor's degree register without delay, as there is now a great demand for such persons in various professions in the job market. Register now at the Department of Labor, Clarence Bean Building, Thompson Boulevard, or at the Robinson Road location, or at the Department of Labor in any family island. For more information, call 302-2550 or 302-2562.
When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. Oh. The plane is spanking clean. The pilot's tempo is great. They fly you out on time. They fly the attendants great. Service is their passion. With you they take good care. Safety is their culture. Yes, they'll get you there. When I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 70220.net and experience Sky.
This year, don't be caught singing the Christmas blues. Start saving now with your own BOB Christmas Club account. Sign up before June 30th with just $20. Earn high interest and have guaranteed spending money in time for Christmas. Don't be left in a bind this year. Let BOB's Christmas Club account work for you. Sign up today at your nearest BOB branch. BOB, your bank of solutions.
There are some who would wish to obliterate all unions, but the Hotel Workers Union is standing strong. Others who would wish to totally destroy the hope and determination of workers, but Nicole Martin and the A-Team is standing strong. Stand strong with the A-Team this election day, May 27th. Show your strength, show your commitment, show you are conquerors, show you are still standing strong.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6, or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators, and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
The Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, ERCA, presents ICT Innovation and Connectivity, a report on the status of the electronic communications sector in the Bahamas and its 2014 activities. Join ERCA's board, members, and staff on Thursday, May 21st at the College of the Bahamas School of Hospitality at 6:30 p.m. and participate. ERCA will also launch its Innovation and Connection competition in commemoration of the 150th anniversary of the ITU.
When Steve talks, people listen.
Welcome back. This is Hard Copy on a wonderful Thursday afternoon as we switch gears and talk about some other matters. We talked about the union in the first part of the show today, and that's quite interesting, watching that with interest. But there are some other matters that are very, very interesting in our country, and we've been talking about it all week. And today we have some of it that you need to know so that you can put things in perspective. And not only that, you can try to understand what is happening globally in the world. A lot of things are happening. Every country seems to be very interested in trying to protect their home turf because a number of things come with the matter of fact of illegals in your midst. We talked on this show about the enemies within our midst some time ago, and there are many who are persons who are regular, everyday Bahamian citizens who are supposed to be in goodwill, but who, in fact, because of some deep-rooted, by blood affiliation, or who have a particular kind of heritage, that they come to the scene doing things that would question a whole lot of people. This is not just unique to the Bahamas, friends. This is universal. And to show you how universal it is today, I'm going to share with you some information that's about to happen by the 27th of this month, which is like next Wednesday. And it involves the United Kingdom and, of course, Australia. And they, too, are clamping down on the number of people who are in their midst who they thought meant them well. In other words, they gave them citizenship. They gave the children of immigrants into their town citizenship, and they figured that, citizenship means that one would be loyal to that particular country. What they're now finding out that is causing them to go to the method of the House and make legislative changes, they're finding out that there's no such thing as citizenship making one loyal to that particular country that they now have adopted as their country. Sounds familiar? And they want to do their own thing within that country. including raising flags, including having certain sects, you know, people of, that is S-E-C-T, not S-E-X. There are people who want to be in an environment that they themselves know much more about. They are beholden to it by blood. That sound familiar? It's in the blood. And that they have no real affiliation, no real affinity, no real loyalty to those things that they swore that they would uphold as a new citizen. So the world is now unfolding in a way that is making even the most considered civilized among us think again. You know, there's no one, no other country that considers themselves really civilized and who have really reached to the level of, you know, the apex of, you know, being really civil and sensible and all-knowing and understanding about things legal. The law lords and that group, and, you know, they know, and, you know, it's barbaric for you to hang in that kind. Well, this same group of people now would come under the microscope of the human rights people in Amnesty International, the United Nations, and all these, because they are now doing some things to protect their home turf, to protect their people, to protect this. They're allowed to be there, to live there, to give them citizenship, and they're now finding out it don't go so. They are not loyal. They're doing a number of things. I'm going to share it with you. Before I share it with you today, I just want to bring you up to date, because I told you on this show yesterday that while we are here in the Bahamas, sitting down, believing that all is well, we can't seem to find any way of stopping the influx of illegals into our country. The word's out. The word is obviously out that, look, go to the Bahamas. You must keep on going until you get through and be successful. Don't mind them talking about the new immigration policies and laws of 2014, November. Ignore that. Someone here is telling them that. They keep coming. They came again today. They came yesterday. Let me give you the statistics from yesterday so you can understand what we're dealing with, because sometimes Bahamians are very stubborn and very foolish. As yesterday's show was dubbed, and very, very aptly, stupid is as stupid does. Are we stupid? Because everybody else, and when I share this with you today, you'll understand this. Everybody else is taking stock to make sure, except the Bahamas. We've bought $235 million worth of seacraft. We're still landing some of them. We've gotten some now, but unabated. The Haitian nationals from down south continue to come. Somebody is telling them, don't come straight down anymore, the chain. Divert when you get in a certain area and go over to the Exumas and the Abacos. Don't really come down to Nassau, because Nassau hot right now. They're watching Nassau. Somebody's telling these people that. Got to be. Because in recent times, if you notice, where the landfall has been made, it's been made where? In the Exuma chain. This sudden influx. Yesterday, the officers of the Immigration Department, along with police and defense force officers, were called out to go and deal with the matter down in Morristown, Exuma. Morristown. By the time as they got there, the boat had already landed. The people had gotten onto the land, and they had to go and try to find these people. Now, you know, the boat ain't come with just 100 people on it. But they did find 73 of them yesterday. So the immigration officers found 73 Haitian nationals, all Haitian nationals. They picked them up after the boatload came in, and the people made the call straight down to Exuma, Morristown. So they got 73 of them that I'm sure they're going to be bringing to New Providence to be sorted out and then repatriated. And then, of course, yesterday, the Immigration Department, also busy in Nassau, busy in Freeport. They rounded up, that's a bad word, they say. They collected in Freeport 13 Brazilians, 8 Dominicans, and in a 2-hour sweep in New Providence before they were called away to deal with the matter in Exuma, where the big boatloads came, and they only got 73. They, in Nassau, had picked up 35 Haitians, 8 Venezuelans, 8 Brazilians, and 1 Chinese. Of course, the immigration people are working. Despite what some people are saying, Neely and the boys, Pratt and the boys, they're working. They're working. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have some semblance of corruption somewhere, perhaps not among that crew, but there are some who have done and given the immigration department a bad name. There's no question about it. And we have our investigations looking at a number of things. But just to bring you up to date, you must work and stick with the people who are working on your behalf to minimize the numbers as best they can. So they got a sweep going yesterday, and they were able to get people out of Freeport. And I want you to take particular note. These are not just Haitian nationals. And Freeport is a unique place because that's where the container ports are. And listen to what they got. 13 Brazilians, 8 Dominicans. That's in Freeport. In Nassau, they got 35 Haitians yesterday, 8 Venezuelans, and 8 Brazilians, and 1 Chinese. So we've got a wide group of people from different ethnicities, different nationalities sneaking into the country, perhaps a part of a major smuggling operation that Fred Mitchell alluded to some time ago. And they are making their landfall. Now, we are being inundated. You can see that. You know, the last report that Mr. Mitchell gave out to us was a report that said that, really, it's overwhelming, that they have run out of money for repatriation exercises. They've got to send so many people all over the world. People are coming here. It is not just the Haitian nationals, but the Haitian nationals are in bigger numbers because they're the more predominant crew. But hear what I'm saying. The Department of Immigration is not just targeting them. They're capturing and looking out and intercepting and interdicting and sending home all kinds of other people to all parts of the world, and it's costing money. At last check, it cost like $35,000 a plane ride to just get back to Haiti by the jet. Now, Mitchell is saying that they have to go and use a foreign airline to take these people back, and it's going to cost us money. We don't have the money. We don't have any money. But this is the problem that we're inundated with. I just thought that you should know that because it's very important. Here's something else that you should know. There's a new law that came into effect on Monday, a couple of days ago, of this week. You want to know what this is all about? It's about an immigration thing. It's a new part that came in. Listen up. Anyone in the Bahamas harboring, hiding, or hiring or hiding any illegal immigrant will be fined $10,000 or 5 years in prison, or $10,000 plus 5 years in prison. That's how serious the government is. You got me? That came into effect on the 18th of this month, May. Did you know that? Let me say it again, because there are many of you who are hiring them still. Many of you are hiding them still. This is the law. Anybody caught harboring, hiding, or hiring illegal immigrants in the Bahamas, at any gas station, on any construction site, in any people's private residence, in anybody's yard, at the garbage dump, on the market range, on the schoolyard compound, on the churchyard compound, anywhere, $10,000 cash and 5 years in prison, or $10,000 fine and 5 years in prison, or $10,000 and 5 years in prison. Now you heard it on hard copy. I've told you, my job, I've just done. I've done my job. do yours. Okay. Now, why is this a very important thing as we look at it? By the way, tomorrow I'm going to have Myles Munroe on the show. It's a recorded show. Yep, he didn't come back. I wish he came back from the dead. But it's a show that we did as a part of a series on the same matter. You'll find it very interesting because you'll be able to put it in context tomorrow, all that we've talked about this week. And you'll see that Myles Munroe, the late, great Myles Munroe, is a man of wisdom and insight. And what he said may not have hit you then. Now, I'm going to play it for you tomorrow. That's going to be tomorrow on Hard Copy at 5. You don't want to miss that. But sufficient unto the day are the troubles thereof, so let me get to it. Mitchell has told us that immigration is driven by the economy, economics. We know that to be a fact, but this was Mitchell on Hard Copy some time ago, giving us this scenario. He first told us about any given day, the number of immigrants that are here between 35,000 and 70,000. But then he also said that immigration is driven by economics.
The issue is one, again, which is driven by our economy. Nicolette Bethel, who is the co-chair of our 40th anniversary Independence Committee, once spoke at a civil society meeting at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs when I was minister the last time. And she said, the reason why we have this problem is because the Bahamas is a rich country and Haiti is a poor country. So if you want it to stop, then all you have to do is make the Bahamas a poor country and it'll stop. But of course, we can't do that because we're going to become an even richer country as time goes on. It's driven by economics. Now, the question is, how do you regulate and make sure that the labor that you need is documented? The invasion of the Bahamas by nationals from Haiti is not a new phenomenon either, because if you go back in history to the revolution in 1804, you'll know that what they then, in the language of that day, they called them French Africans, started coming here, again migrating to the States from Haiti. And laws were passed because the elites of that day were so afraid that the Haitians would spread their revolution to the Bahamas. And so special laws were passed to stop black people from aggregating on the streets during that period. Those laws were not abolished until sometime in the 20th century. So there's a long history of this. Then you have, in the 1950s, the formal policy by the colonial government of roundups and repatriations. And that is a policy which has been pursued by every government up to the one now. And none of it has been successful because all of it is driven by the fact that this labor is needed here for this economy. So that's the one argument. Now, the difficulty is the ambivalence on the part of Bahamians. As soon as you start enforcement on the one hand, you get a call on the other hand that this or that is supposed to happen. Here's what I say. I've said to the officials at the Immigration Department, enforce the law. One of the consequences of the law, the 1973 Constitution, is that people whose parents are not Bahamian citizens when they're born here. So if your parents are Haitian and you're born in the Bahamas, you are Haitian. That's what the law of the Bahamas says. And the law of Haiti also says that you can get a Haitian passport. So it's not true to say that those people are stateless. But the practical problem is, of course, is they don't know Haiti. But the harsh reality of the law is, if you do not have documentation today, you can be deported from this country. And that's what is going to happen. The status right now is that I've been trying to get a program of public education going for Bahamians everywhere to know that you should be documented. Your passport is valuable. Your voter's card is valuable because it identifies you as belonging to the Bahamas. And the whole atmosphere is too casual in the country about this question of documentation. I gave the example when I spoke in the House of a man who came to see me in my constituency office who received a letter from the Department of Immigration dated October 2010. And that letter said, your application for a work permit has been refused, and you have 21 days to wind up your affairs in the Bahamas and return home. And I said to him, well, so what is your status today as you're sitting in front of me? And suddenly he could not understand English. And I said, do you have a work permit? No, I don't. So I said, and here you are sitting in front of the immigration minister now, asking me what you should do. I should actually be calling the police. And that is happening too often.
Fred Mitchell talking with Hard Copy. Quite interesting, right? Some people who'd asked questions early this week got their answers just now, again, from that sound clip. The young man who'd called early in the middle of the week and was insisting that I was wrong about those who born had the illegal parents, that they're Bahamian. You heard Mitchell. You're born to Haitian parents in the Bahamas illegally, you are Haitian. You're not legal. And you will need status. And that's why the government is doing what they're doing now. That's one phase of what is happening. But there's some other things that you need to understand as I share with you this whole matter of where we are with the migration problem from down south in particular. And we talk about this because this is the predominant problem. That's all. It's not that you don't like people or you hate people, as the woman tried to suggest this week. It's simply because this is the reality of what we are dealing with. And we've got to start the cleanup. Mitchell is obviously prepared to start it. Does he have the support of the Bahamas government? Well, I'll tell you this. There's some other people in other parts of the world that got the support of their government. Just listen up. Every government everywhere in the world is cracking down on immigration and migrants in a big way who are illegal in their country, including the United Kingdom and Australia. In the face of the illegal enemies within their countries who pledge allegiance to the country of their foreign parents. In other words, their parents came to those countries legally. They got their children to settle down and they gave them status. But these same children are not pledging allegiance to the countries of which they've adopted citizenship. And so the children of these migrants who would have gotten citizenship within the UK because they were born there to non-legal parents are basically now disloyal to the United Kingdom and are behaving anti-civilized in the United Kingdom. This has forced the government of the UK and Australia to take stock and pass new legislative laws to prevent impending disaster. They recognize it. They recognize that, boy, we're sitting on a powder keg, just like our friends across the Atlantic and the Bahamas. But they are quick to do something about it. We are trying to do something with great resistance. And the resistance isn't so much from the Bahamian public. The resistance seems to be from those among those in government, whether they're opposition or governing party. They seem to be too quiet on the matter. Mitchell needs, as I said yesterday, backup. It doesn't appear as if there are too many people in the governance of this country, opposition and government, who are prepared to voice their concerns as a means and measure of a backup. The Bahamas, based upon what's happening in UK and Australia, should sit up and take note. What do we all have in common? I'll tell you a couple of things we have in common. The UK is a part of the Commonwealth of Nations. So is Australia. So is the Bahamas. We've got some things in common. Let no man deceive you that, oh, we can't do what they're doing. Foolishness. In fact, most of the things that we do in this country, we do based upon best practices from those places because we consider them industrialized and civilized. Plus, we consider them in these parts smarter. I just want to put that in. Now, check this out. The United Kingdom Prime Minister to criminalize wage payments. I want you to hear this, friends, Bahamas. The UK Prime Minister to criminalize wage payments of illegal migrants in their borders. You hear that? He's going to give a speech. UK's Cameron to announce legislation on illegal immigrants. It says this in a story written on the Wall Street Journal. You can check it out online. It says, UK Prime Minister David Cameron is due to announce Thursday coming plans for a fresh crackdown on illegal immigration or immigrants, including new legislation to allow police to seize the wages of foreigners who are working in the country after entering illegally or overstaying their visas. I want to read that for you again, because that's some heavy stuff. I don't know if you can digest this tonight, but this is some heavy stuff. Wall Street Journal, go and Google it. Here's what it says. UK Prime Minister David Cameron is due to announce this coming Thursday plans for a fresh crackdown on illegal immigrants, including new legislation to allow police to seize the wages of foreigners who are working in that country after entering illegally, or those foreigners who overstayed their visas. In his first speech on immigration since being elected earlier this month for a second term in office, Mr. Cameron also is due to announce plans for measures to give authorities powers to evict illegal migrants from rented accommodations more quickly, extend a policy of deporting migrants before they can appeal, and satellite tracking of foreign criminals awaiting deportation. This is according from the extracts taken from his prepared remarks to be delivered next week in the Parliament. You see, they're doing some things. Are we learning? Are we listening? Are we watching the way the world goes on this matter? The measures are to be included in a new immigration bill. We just passed one the other day in the Parliament here in the Bahamas. In the UK, the measures are to be included in a new immigration bill, which will be part of the new legislative agenda the government plans to introduce on May 27th, next week. Mr. Cameron now controls a majority government. Christie does too here in the Bahamas. Whereas during the last 5 years, Cameron was in a coalition with the Liberal Democrats. Now he has a majority government. Now he's doing some things that will give him victory in doing them through the House. Under existing legislation, migrants with leave to remain in the country who are working illegally are liable to be a custodial sentence, a fine, or both. But those who have entered the country illegally or have overstayed their visas aren't subject to the same conditions. Mr. Cameron will say in his speech that it has been too easy to work illegally and employ illegal workers in Britain. My goodness, you hear that? This is what he's going to say next week, Thursday. He will say in his speech that it has been too easy to work illegally and employ illegal workers in Britain. This first world country now, you're talking big boys now. And he says, so I will take radical steps. This is a part of his speech next week. We got the insight from, thanks to the Wall Street Journal, who have written a report based on conjecture what's happening here, that this is what's going to happen on Thursday coming. Cameron is quoted as saying, we will take a radical step. We will make illegal working a criminal offense in its own right. That means wages paid to illegal migrants will be seized as proceeds of crime, and business will be told when their workers' visas expire. So if you are involved in illegal working, employer or employee, you're breaking the law. Mr. Cameron will tell his audience next week, Thursday. And I can go on and give you more. But that's just the beginning of what he sees to be a major problem. They have a major problem like we have. We're no different. But they're prepared to do some things. Yes, Mr. Cameron will say in his speech that it has been too easy to work illegally and employ illegal workers in Britain. I can read that this way. It has been too easy to work illegally and employ illegal workers in the Bahamas, if I wanted to. But this is what Mr. Cameron will say next week. Does this mean anything to you? And guess what? This trend is infectious because Mr. Cameron is not alone. If you go online and take a look, Australia is getting ready. Another Commonwealth nation is getting ready to strip citizens, to strip the citizenship of migrants or immigrants in their country. Now listen to what they say. Australia plans to strip citizenship from Australian-born children of immigrants who became Islamic State fighters in its crackdown on homegrown terrorists. You see, this is the other side of the coin. You don't know who in your country. You don't know why they want to gather in groups and have their own thing in a sovereign country where there's already a flag. This is Australia. With all that we're seeing in the world today, and we had a scare with our website being hacked by some crazy people, I call them, who want to bring terror upon the world and to stop our parliament because the prime minister thought it so quick to stop the parliament and get things together from a national security point of view. The world is their oyster, the terrorist. And many of the people who they are targeting, listen, Bahamas, are those who are here who are immigrants or the children of them. That's what they're doing in Australia. That's what they're doing in London. Well, what makes the Bahamas different? We should be very concerned because they attack these, they target these people because what? These people feel they have no stake in the land, and they feel frustrated about where they are, and they are not loyal to this country that they call theirs by citizenship. It is just a convenience, is what is happening in Australia. Is that the same case in the Bahamas? You want your cake and eat it too? Or you want to eat your cake and have it too? It can be both ways. I told you this week. You can have it both ways. And no matter how much these boys in the Bahamas want to remain silent, the world is watching. It's real. This is real. We are not immune to terrorists or to groups that got another plan. We are not immune. And our borders are wide open. That's why they're coming by the millions. Well, that's exaggeration. They're coming by the thousands in our country every year, settling down. They hear about a belongings permit now. They are jumping on boats. There are people who are helping them. You need to know this. This is not meant to scare you. This is meant to wake you and shake you into the reality that we are part of the world. We can't divorce ourselves from the reality of what is happening and how we are small and how we got 100,000 square miles of water and you can enter from anywhere and how we can patrol and protect our coastal. Please understand something. Not even our airspace. Don't forget the Barefoot Bandit that Puzzle wrote about. Fella get in our territory, ducked the FBI, got in our territory. That may be one case that you find isolated, but guess what? Nothing happened to him, you know. He was sent out of this country into the hands of the great United States. He perhaps somewhere in prison, but the point what I'm making, look how he infiltrated our airspace, moved from island to island in a little plane. We are in the back door of America, or they're in the front door of us, or however you want to put that. We're close. I show you things that you may not like to hear or want to think about because it's scary. I agree. But the bottom line is this: we are vulnerable. And we've got to do everything in our power to protect the national security of this country. We've got to protect the national security of this country. And that's why the Prime Minister was up in arms the other day with this whole hacking of the website. You know what that did to us? If these boys who are perhaps affiliated with ISIS had gotten things on that site that talked about all kinds of stuff to the Bahamas, we would have been considered bastards in the world. But look what they do. They're affiliated with those jihads and stuff. But here's what Australia, a Commonwealth country, is doing. They plan to strip citizenship. Strip it. See, people in the Bahamas believe that once you get citizenship, you're straight. You need to understand something. All of those persons who are rebel rousers, and you know them, your citizenship can be stripped from you. They can take it back. The government hardly ever does it, but these are serious and compelling times. We don't need no static. We don't need no ruckus, as the boys like to say on the streets. So those persons who want to kick up and talk fool and incite, making statements about Colombian neckties and stuff, see? Same thing has been happening in the interior of the United Kingdom. Now they're doing something. Australia's doing something. Because if a man does not want to be a citizen of your country and you make him one, and he ain't into you, and you get to him because you know you want to be good and you want to be hospitable and you want to make sure that you know that you don't see him barbaric and that you know that you have compassion and you want to please the United Nations and you want to come off as if, you know, we are really civilized and we're doing these things. You better catch yourself. Because you may mean well, but if they don't mean well, dog eat your lunch. So the government wants, in Australia, the government wants to change the Citizenship Act. That's how serious this is. To make fighting for Islamic State in Syria and Iraq a reason for losing citizenship. This is what the Immigration Minister, Peter Dutton, says. The government also wants to adopt the British legal model by revoking the citizenship of extremists who are Australian-born children of immigrants or an immigrant, forcing them to take up citizenship in the birth country of their parents or parent. You see the similarities? These are the children of immigrants who came. They probably bonded to non-citizens of that place. Because this is, our one is based upon the British model now. You have to understand this. We are all united as far as the Commonwealth of Nations is concerned. So 2-to-1, we borrowed some of their stuff. They borrowed some of our stuff, but basically we borrowed some of their stuff because they've been around before us. So a lot of our stuff is based upon their best practices in law and in constitutions. So here it is now on this serious vexing problem of immigration. The government wants to also adopt the British legal model by revoking, big word in the Bahamas, the citizenship of extremists who are Australian-born children of immigrants who came to that country. You know, the fellow says that they are Bahamian-born children of immigrants who came to our country. And so they say they're born there, so they're Bahamian. Isn't that what one of them is preaching? That if you're born as a Bahamian? That's not true. But that's what they say. It's these same children in Australia and in the UK, and undoubtedly in the Bahamas, who have citizenship in some cases, but they pledge their allegiance to no such country where the citizenship was given. Now, that should make you think. Now, I didn't write these reports, but in my research, here are the reports. These are current reports. This isn't something from last year. This is today. This is yesterday. This is now. This is breaking news as far as I'm concerned. And here we are sitting down on these lazy string of islands, thinking that the world is beautiful, that we are all so comfortable. People who insist that they can have their flag day come hell or high water. We ain't want to talk with it. Our officials want to pretend like it don't exist. I tell you, there must be something in the air, because this is not just germane to us. This is the world over. I mean, which country can you put on the table right now, tell me, that is considered to be more civilized, and more advanced, and more legally superior than the countries I've just mentioned? The United Kingdom and Australia. I thought I'd read that into your ear today so that you can understand where we are, what the deal is. So I've shared it with you. You can call me at 325-023546. I'll spend about 10 minutes with you extra to share your views. This is the deal. Understand what we're talking about. Understand how big the picture is. Understand that we've been telling you for a mighty long time, through many different voices have been saying for a mighty long time, that we must beware of the people who believe that anchor babies is the future. They do in Mexico, everywhere in the world, the people use the children, the mighty little children who are so small and innocent. This is how the world is full of problems. Everybody wants to cave in and say, well, the children, you can't blame the children. The truth is you can, but you see, adults manipulate situations with children. It's not the children, but the children can grow mad. You understand? The chick is going to go to a chicken. The pig is going to grow to a hog. The boy has become man. The girl is going to become woman. That's when most countries, under the auspices of the way they've been doing things in the old world through United Nations, that is the reality that they want to deal with when they become man. Hear what I say? Any child born to non-citizens in the Bahamas shall, upon the attainment of age 18, be not required, What's the word that they say? Has a right, as of a right, apply for citizenship. We wait until the boy grow man. When the real rules is that we don't read and talk about is that when you come illegally, because it sounds so harsh, you have your baby, your mommy illegal, your daddy illegal, you go home after you come out of the hospital with your illegal parents back to where they come from. Because the truth is, as Mr. Mitchell just told us, there's no such thing as a stateless Haitian. He is automatically a citizen of Haiti under their constitution, wherever he born. So it's not true to say that he has no status or he has no citizenship. He has it to the country where his parents come from. We ain't want to pay attention to that, We want to keep getting that wrong. But if you keep getting that wrong, you can understand what time it is eventually. That time may be now. 325-023546, 325-024243, 325-025253. Hard copy, how you doing today? Hard copy, how you doing today?
So, Steve, am I on?
You're on with me. You didn't want to talk live?
Well, I really know that's no problem, Steve. I think what I have to say today, the nation needs to hear. We really got a problem, Steve. And while we're out to lunch and our officials are out to lunch, we better wake up and smell the coffee. Because, Steve, I had a person working for me part-time, really. She was already in the country for a long time and had a work permit. And at one point, she was not doing anything, so I had her to come by in the afternoons to watch my underage 2 grandchildren. And sometime last year, Steve, I informed her that I would no longer be renewing her permit because I did at some point take on the responsibility of applying for her because she had an existing permit that was about to expire. And Steve, she said to me last summer, she said, that's no problem. Okay. And her daughter spoke most of the time for her because this woman hardly speaks English. But Steve, surprisingly, 3 months ago, I got a call from, actually it was in March, I got a call from immigration asking me or to confirm whether I had reapplied for the particular lady this year. And I said, no, I did not, and I informed her. But she went up and she made application for herself, Steve.
I understand. I think you told me this before.
Yes. And she made, this is how daring and how bold and how bigoted these people can be, Steve. And thank God for, I don't know the process in which, how they would pick it up, but I thank God for the eagle-eye immigration officer or those who were performing their duties to come across the particulars, And I was really surprised to find out that I did not reapply for her, but she took it upon herself, went up, and she made application for herself. And this is how these people really think that we are not paying attention and we are out to lunch. And we really have to fix this situation. This is vexing.
Yeah, it is. Well, let's hope for the best. Let's see what happens. And I'm happy that you were able to get your situation cleared up, because the country. Thank you very much for your call. The country needs this major situation cleared up, and don't take it personal. It is the way things are, and I'm happy today for one reason, that I was able to share with you what is happening in the UK, because we all look there, and what is happening in Australia. We all look to these places who are supposed to be all about making sure that they have this human rights, and human rights is very important. Don't get me wrong. And we must treat people fairly, because that's the Christian thing to do. We know that in the Bahamas. We are a nation that believes in God, and that is a major part of our constitutionality. But we've also got to have some common sense and some logics and some courage. You got to pray for some. Hard copy, how are you? Peace and love. I'm in good shape.
Yeah, how does that law apply to persons who are here on work permit, but they are doing work outside of the person who would have be responsible for their permit? Because I think that law has to extend beyond that. It's immigration law. I think there's some things lacking in that clause.
Yeah, well, this whole thing, you mean the caller who called a short time ago, the truth is anybody who comes into your country, they're supposed to be outside your country. You are supposed to apply for them. It is a bad habit. And many Bahamians have done it, like the lady said, and she admits to it, because she may not even have known. It's a bad habit to go and inherit somebody who was working for the other fella, and you bring him on to work for you because he had a work permit just 2 months ago, and you bring him on and try to reapply for his work permit. See, the trouble is this. Once the permit is over, they're supposed to go home, and then they have to apply again. That's what the law is, to come back into the country. Now, the good thing would be, okay, he had a work permit. We put that on the record. We say, but now he gone home. So I want to bring him onto my team now, but I'm going to apply for him. And because he had a work permit before, it's not so hard for him to get back in. But they don't want to go home. They stay, and then you apply, and you can't apply. It makes you a criminal. You should not apply for anybody's work permit who is still in the country if their work permit expired. And you shouldn't inherit a work permit, because it is not done that way.
What if you have a work permit, but you are doing job?
You're not supposed to do that. A work permit is specifically designed for somebody to work for you in your employment to do X, Y, and Z. Let's say you fix air conditions. Okay, there's a wide area of people who fix air conditions, but you got this guy here because of his expertise. You wrote the Immigration Department. You wrote the Department of Labor. They gave you permission to bring in this guy because he knows more about condensers than most people around here, and you don't have the qualifications or the quality of people to deal with the condensers, the kinds that he deal with. So he gets a permit. Now, you fire him, or you are finished with him, and his permit is expired, or he no longer is in your employ. He cannot really go and be hired, and shouldn't be hired by somebody else, okay, to, in fact, be working on that old permit for a new company, because they can get themselves in trouble. And that is what this new thing that they're now talking about. Well, if this guy is here, and you see, they didn't speak in detail on this new thing that I told you about a short time ago. I was talking specifically to those who are illegally, who don't have no permit at all. They ain't got no permit. They hear they work on the back of your truck, so they cutting grass. So they going to go do carpentry on your job. They ain't got no papers. They ain't got no permit. That is the most dangerous thing that a Bahamian or any employee could do right now. Very, very dangerous. And Pratt had forecasted this, When I interviewed him earlier last year, he had forecasted this. He talked about how some people are locked up at the service station. They had to pay a fine. We take these things for granted. Now they're putting some teeth in it. And if you are caught, you've got $10,000 to spend on somebody, well, go ahead. Take the chance. you want to go to jail for 5 years because it could be 10,000 and the 5 years in jail, 5 years in prison. See, this is a very, very serious thing because we've got a serious problem. And because it's economically driven, people are going to take the chances of coming here to work. And they will work for you because they work hard. They're good workers. But the trouble is, you're taking a big chance. Now, you know what the remedy for that is, my brother? The remedy for that is for the government to get very serious and cracking and to see if they can work with this government in Haiti that is kind of stabilized. It ain't really where this should be, all right? But try to find out if they can come up with a work scheme, pretty much like what I talked about the other day, with the contract when your father and my father went to work on the project and we had a working agreement and we had a structure so it can't be corrupt. If we come up with that, maybe some people could come in and work on that kind of a thing. But that has to be worked out between the Bahamas and the Republic of Haiti. That isn't anything for you as a private citizen to go get yourself involved in because we are putting down serious measures in the Bahamas right now, and we should be. You there?
Okay, yes, I'm here.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. Hard copy, how are you?
Good evening, Steve.
Peace and love.
I was on a conference call and I missed that part you talked about of the $10,000 fine.
Yeah.
How does that go, please?
Well, based on my information from my sources inside the department, here's what the deal is right now. Let me just find my paper here a second. That anybody who is, here it is, okay, new law that came into effect Monday passed. This is on the books of immigration, so you better go and familiarize yourself with it. Anyone harboring, hiding, or hiring illegal immigrants will be fined $10,000 or 5 years in prison or both. End of story. If you're harboring them, you're hiding them, or you're hiring them, and they're illegal.
That is absolutely wonderful and about time. And you know, I caught the part you're talking about, Mr. Cameron, and read that this morning.
Yep.
On the wire.
Yeah, Wall Street Journal published the story. Yeah.
And you know, we need to do the exact same thing because take for instance, let me give you a recent example. The lady that called 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of attitude and people who would join an ISIS or some other.
And they are being targeted because they're angry.
Yeah.
They don't have no allegiance to your country, even though they got citizenship.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Cameron is talking about.
Yeah.
That's exactly the problem. That's exactly what Australia has a problem with.
Yeah. We are sitting, as you say, on a powder keg because if these people get in contact with these extremists,
mm-hmm.
we're in big trouble. Big trouble. We need to solve this matter. I'm shocked and surprised, but happy that government is finally putting some teeth in these laws.
Yeah, well, the government has been on the record of saying that they're going to do some things. They're even fingerprinting now. You know, once upon a time, they didn't have a fingerprinting machine. So when they now get these illegals, they're fingerprinting them now. That's good news because now they can trace that this fella been here before. He come back with his other name, say he named Belly, but he was here naming Buju Belly last time. And we got his fingerprint. So if he comes back through the system, they know that this fella is a habitual fella who likes to sneak into the country.
Yeah,
and they will deal with
him.
If
they're going to consider stripping him of these Bahamian names that they've been adopting over these
well, you
years.
know, well, look here. Let's be grateful for the small steps toward the mark. You know, and I'm with you. And this is something that we have to really consider and do. Not consider. We've already considered. We've got to go and execute and do. But you know, these little small steps are a big part of solving this gigantic problem because the enormity of it could overwhelm you. And so we are, I suppose, making little moves, and we're going to watch it with interest.
So kudos to the government. I hope that what Mr. Cameron is doing and what's happening in Australia will give them the impetus to move forward and do even more. This nonsense has to stop.
I appreciate your call. All right. Great. Hard copy, how are you?
How you doing, Steve?
Very good. Thank you so much.
With you.
Peace and love.
In 2010, I listened very carefully and attentively to your show today. In 2010, I reported to you and to the Bahamian people that some immigrants were deported to the Bahamas, claiming, Haitian immigrants, that is,
yeah.
Let me just make sure I say that, claiming that they were from this Bahamas. 2 of these immigrants in the last 3 to 5 years since I made that statement have been used in our Supreme Courts in my humble opinion, stifled my progress and slow me down. Steve, in time to come, the country is going to get a shock because, you see, the Bahamian people is educated. The world is open to us now. We have the internet. I want to say something to the Minister of Immigration. You see, a lot of immigrants was deported to this country, and I want to say this also to the Commissioner of Police. And then eventually this will then reach the Attorney General. A lot of immigrants were sent to the Bahamas claiming they are or were Bahamians born here at some young birth. That is questionable because they could have been illegal immigrants who hid here, got some JP. Okay, that's one issue I issued with from 2010. You see what's happening today in 2015? I have Supreme Court records where two of these individuals, you see, I'm thinking about tracing the money. Who's funding these people? You see, so when the world say we don't want certain money and certain things, you know, I agree. We are a sovereign country and our banks should have the privilege to do. Just like I also agree that Bahamians should have the privilege now to own banks. If our country is so rich like they claim.
I got you. I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate your call, and I know that you're drifting, but I do appreciate what you're saying. Let's take a call because I've got a call today in a minute. Hard copy, how are you?
Good day, how you doing?
Yes, sir.
Steve, I was thinking about this for a while now. We have 40 plus immigrants or places working on work permit in this country. Now think about it. If we cut back 20,000 of that a year,
jobs.
we could have 20,000 jobs for Bahamian women and men. When I look at it and I see what's going on, when I see that immigrants are working and taking money, sending back home, feeding their children back home, and we have mothers and fathers here who even can't feed their children, you know, it's a problem. Yeah. And I have a big concern about that. We have to do something concerning these immigrants, and the government sleep. Both governments are about sleep. Because I remember under Hubert Ingram, he let us put 100 or something out. And nothing was said. He never came back to the public and said we gather them back and we send them back home. That's those ones that let out, just went wild. We have to do something about this immigration problem.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Yes, a number of them were let out. I think it was more than 100. We don't know what happened. They never really checked in any police station. They just went into the interior. That was the end of that. I don't think that was the intention of Mr. Ingram. I think the intention was for law enforcers to do a smooth process and then know who went out. And that was to show sympathy. See, again, we do things to show sympathy and to show the world that we're not as backward as you all think. But I'm showing you something today. Those countries, the United Kingdom, that we say, man, they forward progressive thinkers. They're doing things because they know, as forward progressive thinkers, you better show up your national security. That's the bottom line. And they're also trying to stop the bleeding, the hemorrhaging of all their monies, what they're paying taxes for, being spent on other people who are ungrateful and who could give 2 cents. Is there any education in that situation for the Bahamas? Is there any scholarship in that for the Bahamas? Can we glean anything? Can we learn from anything? Since we go to them for best practices, you always them head of measure. Well, in the United Kingdom, what they do in this thing, in that thing, well, are there any best practices that we can glean from what they're now about to do? Cameron got a majority government now. There's no coalition. There's nothing that stops him from doing what he has to do because he knows what is happening. And she's on top of it. You're not going to hear any hue and cry from anybody over there talking fool, unless they play in politics. Australia has got an even bigger problem because, their people just who they give citizenship to, they don't give a damn. They join in ISIS and every other group. How do you control that if they don't have any sensibility about being loyal to the citizenship that they got? That's what you all in the Bahamas got to think about. Sobering time. Hard copy, how are you? Hi there. Are you there?
Good evening, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm listening, ma'am. Go ahead, please.
I just want to say, it seems as though we have successive governments that are not interested in what the people want, what the Bahamians want, but maybe they'll be interested in what the Americans could see them doing. If we have people that are susceptible to terrorist influence, and we're giving these people passports, now have visas to go to the U.S., maybe our government will wake up and smell the coffee.
I got your point.
Thank you.
Loud and clear. I got your point. Food for thought. Food for thought. Food for thought. See, America has got to be concerned too. Don't fool yourself. You hear what that lady said? Think about what she said. They are here. They are not loyal to us. They got citizenship. They got passport. They got all kinds, and they get visa to go over. So we can't control them because they ain't into us. You heard the woman. It's in the blood. That's a serious thing. Well, who you can control? They ain't checking for you. Now, I'm not saying all of them, you know. See, this is just the problem. It is you don't know who. So you've got to deal with it collectively. You got to deal with it generally. You just can't say, well, not this one. You don't know. They are all vulnerable because they're there for the pickings. And you see, today, my news director did a story just before 5 o'clock. I don't know if you heard that story. The story was talking about how all persons with Android phones were targeted by these same Islamic jihad groups today. So if you got one of these phones, these fancy phones, these what you call them, S5, and them, you may have been hacked today. Your number may have been hacked today to do a number of things. Oh, you didn't hear that story? Oh, you got to listen to that story. MBM Network News reports all the stuff with our news director, Harabin up here. You got to listen. We are no longer in a village. We are in a global market. You need to listen to things globally and appraise yourself and familiarize yourself with things that's happening in the world, especially among Commonwealth nations. We are a part of the Commonwealth nations. You think we by ourselves, eh? Anyway, I've told you some stuff today. We'll talk about it more, I'm supposing, next week, because tomorrow I'm going to replay a broadcast for you with Dr. Miles Monroe that talks about all these things and more. It's very important. You want to tune in and listen to it, and you will listen to it from a different perspective this time because he is no longer here. But boy, is he spot on. But boy, has he given us some advice. But boy, should the government tune in tomorrow, they need to tune in with sitting down with their book and pencil and write it down before they miss it again. This is a rare occasion that I'm pulling it from the archives, the recent archives of just last year when I had on that series when I brought him out of, I think he was in Israel, and brought him out of Israel to come to the show because we were having some problems on this gender equality thing, which is now treading again. You see that? Sean McQueen is in the papers yesterday. There's papers, news stories in the newspapers today about this whole gender equality thing being delayed. We better pay attention. Because in the midst of all the distractions about everything else, we could miss it. You notice that I've not been talking with the Junkanoo Carnival recently because everyone is now catching up. The Tribune carried a story yesterday with the vendors, which I read 2 weeks ago, and told you what the vendors were feeling. They ain't make no money. That story was in the papers yesterday. Today, I think it was today, they're questioning whether or not, or was that yesterday, whether or not they really, if this carnival was a success. That's today, right? Yeah, there it is. Was the carnival really a success? Well, the first day, that Monday after the carnival that weekend, I told you, success. Christie says it was success. I say, I disagree. I said, how do you measure success? By people or by looking at the objectives that you had gone out to go and achieve? I had Paul Major on that show as well, insisting that they were successful. Well, maybe they are successful. I don't know. We'll wait for Paul's numbers, and that's why I left it alone, because Paul says that they were, that they got $50 to $60 million toward the GDP. And so that should be a good thing. But I said, well, the hotels weren't full. They were just about 60% the most. The tourists didn't come. How do you be successful if your objectives were to bring new monies in to stimulate the economy? All happened if people did spend money, which we're finding out now that they didn't spend a damn cent. Because if the vendor's now going to get $1,000 back, 40 of them, or whoever of them, you're looking at that they didn't make any money. So you mean people went and didn't buy a thing? My goodness. These are things that I told you about, that others are now catching up to it. Others are now questioning it. But I question it from day one. Now, that ain't to big me up. I'm showing you consistency. We dropped that topic because it's not that important, because we really know the answer, you know. Oh, we already did our research. The time ain't right to tell you that yet. The days are counting. We're now on day, there's 12 more days to Mr. Major's 21-day deadline to tell us what happened. So we're waiting for that. No sweat it, no big deal. I'm sure he's working the numbers. But these are all distractions, my friends. What is happening now is an act of distraction. Get them Negroes to talk back on that carnival again and leave this immigration thing alone. And so some have fallen into it, and they're just talking about that. That's old news. We'll pick that up again in the right time. You know what is the real news? Get this national security thing intact. Get it intact. And with all you're getting, get some wisdom and some knowledge and some understanding of what you're dealing with. That's what I come to tell you. Stay on page. So, I only said that to say, don't be distracted, friends. There are many things that we have to do. I told you, and many of my colleagues who sit around the table on Sunday or through the week on hard copy or wherever, they've been saying it, you know. Pay attention to what we are doing, because we had said it. Halston Mutri said it a long time ago, you know. This tax burden is due to immigration. All this burden on us.
I'm still waiting for any government, not just this government. I'm still waiting for them to tell me what's the tax burden on the Bahamian citizens for this illegal immigration population that we have in the country. See, because you have a tax burden based on the institutions of government that they have to provide all these services for these illegals. And then secondly, the illegals, when they generate revenue within the country and not paying the taxes like they should, and then it's like an estuary where they feed, it's a flow out of the economy, and nobody is doing the proper analysis to determine these type of impacts, and all you want to do is go to the Bahamian citizen and increase the taxes. That extra 200,000 that they're talking about, that coming out of some Bahamian citizen's pocket. But you're not morally justified, in my estimation, to come and do that to the people when you're not doing what is necessary in terms, especially as it relates to illegal immigration. You can't just have all these people coming into your nation, placing all your burdens on your health services, your educational services, and all the other services that you provide. That's where the taxation is going. To generate these services for the government. That's why we paying the taxes.
But somebody else's property.
And we paying for people who are not paying, are not participating in this revenue generation. That's absolutely ludicrous.
Halston Mutri talking with me recently. You heard what he said. I know you agree. It all stemmed from this whole thing of people having an attitude that this Constitution that we lean on, especially Article 7, that is wide, that we have not really explored. There's so many parameters, so many different things about Article 7. It goes to a great read. We only concentrate on one little part. You know why? Because the agenda of those who've been here a long time sympathizes with this group of people, have been saying over the years, we need to grow the population. So, you know, just leave it till they get 18. They're born of illegal parents in a country. leave it alone, and then maybe if we have the power, we'll give them it, and they'll be on our side. That's basically what it really amounts to, And we've been practicing that from that time. As Fred Mitchell said earlier today, from the colonial time, we've been practicing that. That's been the policy. That's what we've been doing. My goodness. Anyway, I said anchor babies, and you say anchor babies. And what does anchor babies mean to people who are migrating? It means everything. It's the ticket. It's the ticket to the promised land.
I'm of the view that if a parent puts their child in harm's way or have babies in the Bahamas, arrive here illegally, and their goal is to have a baby in the Bahamas, to anchor them in the Bahamas, then that child, the responsibility really should be directed at the parents who put that child in harm's way, as opposed to the governing authorities who are functioning in the best interest of a sovereign nation and the protection of their people. You see, you cannot, in the world today, you have human trafficking, you have all sort of mechanisms going on for a lot of illegal activity. We cannot be seen to be compromising or being sympathetic or commiserating or procrastinating because of the human element involved in this matter. Something has to be done. See, the government of the Bahamas, if you look at the population of the Bahamas, it grows at a certain rate. Normally, economies grow proportionate to the population growth. And usually, when you have this massive influx of illegal immigrants, we have exactly what we have in the Bahamas today. Burdens being placed on all the institutions of government that the government could not possibly plan for, and the economy didn't have a natural progression or development to sustain. Mm-hmm. And so the government has reached a threshold now where if they don't minimize the amount of this influx, we will become another Haiti where people will be trying to run from to find economic refuge somewhere else. So what should we do?
What should we do? I don't have the answer. Do you? I know that we've got to do something, and that something is very simple. We've got to look at the policies that are now being forecasted by the United Nations, by the United Kingdom, and British Prime Minister Cameron, who is about to announce legislation on illegal immigrants in his territory, because he knows that the time has come to deal with the problem. Added to that is this thing from Australia who says they'll follow the British legal model on this because they got the same problems going on way down under Australia. And the people from the terrorist groups like ISIS and them and jihads, they are targeting their people who don't feel like they won't belong to Australia, though they have citizenship, even though they were born of illegals in that country. We have the similar circumstance in the Bahamas. Don't fool yourselves. There are many who are born to illegals in the Bahamas who are here among us right now. They're not talking your talk, buddy. They're talking something else. And what's more, they won't fly another flag in a country that already has its flag. Wake up, smell the coffee. Or like I like to say, wake up and smell that Johnny cake that mama baking. That'll sober you up. So somebody says here, oops, on my text today, I thought only us had a problem with Flag Day, according to that Haitian lady the other day on Steve's show. Well, she was dead wrong, is what that person says, now that this person has been informed about what the Brits and the Aussies are doing in the UK and Australia. This one says, Steve, this is ridiculous. We have a defense force who need to step up. There's only one way to come from the South. And when they find out who is captain, if no one talks, lock them all up. Come on, man. This one says, are there provisions for neutralized or naturalized Bahamians and alike and a like facing revocation as a result of the new law? If not, they aren't serious. Are there provisions for naturalized Bahamians and who may be facing revocation as a result of new law? Well, I don't really understand that question. I'll have to look at that. In the essence of time, I'll move on. I'll defer that for another day to answer. This one says, Steve, I'm tired of all the talk. Put pen to paper, lock them up for illegal entry, send the message. This one says, hi, Steve, I believe we are serious with immigration when the government eradicates all the shanty towns, put defense force boats around our southern islands. I can't squat on our crown land. How in the world illegals can build a whole community on government land? This one says, laugh out loud, Steve. Tell that lady she needs to go live in England. After a week there, she'll break 10 back here. So sit small and shut her big mouth. That's people taking shots at my lady who called me this week and said that she is a Bahamian. But she has Haitian heritage, and she's more proud of that than anything else, basically, and that, that we really haven't done anything. And, she don't think that much of us. First part of the show today, we were talking about this whole thing at the hotel and the hotel union. So here's something from the first part of the show. Do you think that Malia should pay 20% interest to each worker's money? That was hell. These people now are feeling it. They say Malia going to pay around the 16th of July, if that's what the ruling is. They want 20% interest on top of that for holding the people money so long. This one says, hey, Steve, as it relates to Bahama, can the Bahamas government sue Bahama or the Chinese construction company for them not living up to their end of the bargain, since these laborers were forced on us and since they have caused so much damage to our country? Well, I believe some things will happen eventually because the heads speak specifically to opening dates and finishing dates. And that's why I said to you the other day, I want to share in Mr. Christie's enthusiasm and the government's enthusiasm about the Cotton Bay project with Dr. Samiantos down in Eleuthero. But the troubling thing is that while I supported a $100 billion project, the troubling thing to me is that the heads what they signed and announced last week does not have a start date for construction. That concerns me. Because any heads of agreement without a start date or a completion date is really just fluff. It's not real, in my view. You can't say, we hope that they can start next week. It has to be there in that heads. You see the point? This is Bahama's problem. Bahama's problem has some dates. That's why Christie could have given the conjecture that, by March 27, blah, blah, after December 2014, and he said, by March 27, blah, 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 nothing happened. We've had 3 opening dates, 5 months delay, and they had an impasse. Hey, heads of agreement should mean something. I agree. This person says, Steve, you're telling me my husband, who used to bring home $800, has continued bringing home $800 until the judge ruling in July? This is madness. How are we supposed to pay our bills? This is somebody from Malia, who would have had the gratuities stayed for the time. And we're hoping that matter is resolved quickly because it's ugly, it's foolish, it doesn't make any sense, and nobody agrees with them. And Malia is losing support in the Bahamas for their brand of antics. That's what the problem is. And when Bahamians go against a particular brand or a particular institution, it's over. Believe that, friends. You need to understand. See, a lot of people come and don't know the demographic of this country. They don't know the attitudes of Bahamians. They don't know that when you piss us off and you hate Bahamians, man, your name ain't good. I can tell you that now. You need to go over the hill, into the barber shop, into the hairdress salons, into the food store, and hear them talk. They talking bad with them because their name bad in the Bahamas because how they treat people. That's what I'm saying. So anybody coming to invest in the Bahamas, do the right thing, play by the rules, follow the laws. It's not hard. We're great people. But don't come here trying to fool around and pee on us and tell us it's raining. There's great response in the negative to that kind of stuff. And I tell you because I'm a friend. I tell you as it is. We don't mince words here because we know how important it is. And that's why even when the pot cake talks about this immigration woe, I have to sit up and pay attention.
I think we need to initiate a more comprehensive campaign to really have those people removed from our soil who is here legally, and they are here by the thousands. I don't know what the answer is. I think with the new Defense Force boats coming in one by one, that should assist us. I agree that the country shouldn't be burdened with defraying all the expenses of having those illegals repatriated back to Haiti and elsewhere from the Bahamas. That is a drain on our economy. I think we need to appreciate ourselves that as a people, we don't need to have all these people living among us and really taking away from our economy. They make no contribution towards education, that is free. You go to the hospital, 7 of the 10 beds are occupied by immigrants, illegal immigrants in many instances. I think as people, we need to look at what type of country we wish to build for ourselves, for our children, and for Bahamians yet unborn. That's going to take a collaborative effort of all of us to get together and try to arrest this menace that we are now faced with.
Well said, Leslie Miller. Well said. Now, let's see if we can get the government to be on the same page. We're going to call it today. I think I've given you too much information today. That's information overload. You can't take too much more of that. I'll save the rest for another day. Tomorrow, though, don't forget, Miles Monroe is going to be sitting with me from an archival show that we've had, that we did a very, very comprehensive look at a number of things that you will find quite interesting. And it's good, refreshing stuff for you to hear and to be reminded of. And that's going to happen tomorrow at 5 o'clock, God willing. That's our show for tonight. Let's go home, Irvin. Thank you for joining us today on Hard Copy. Our show has been brought to you by Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, Bank of the Bahamas, the Banking Solutions, BTC, Every Day, Supermarket, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, the McKinney Media Group. Also, Island Aid Products, Ministry of Tourism.